When I was a little boy, we used to play baseball, of course. And I used to play third base, and my best friend used to play shortstop. And I remember one day, the coach looking out, and me and my best friend were talking, chatting, doing all kinds of stuff, but playing baseball, right? It was during practice, so there was no danger. But all of a sudden he said, "Hey, Andy, Billy, little less talk, little more action, all right? Get to work, do something, be ready." He's yelling at us. A little less talk, a lot more action. Why? Because he knew the danger, right? If we're not paying attention, baseball's going to come right at us, hurt us, because we're not prepared. We're not watching, waiting, preparing ourselves, moving our feet, getting ready, get the glove up, right? Be ready. Little less talk, more action. Isn't this what we need now in our day and age? Little less talk, a lot more action. Because it seems like within our family and friends, when we talk about all the things we talk about, whether at work, with family, with friends, within our community, within myself, I got all the answers. I know what they need to do. Here's what they need to do. Here's what she needs to do. Here's what he needs to do. Here's what they need to do. I talk a big game, but what am I willing to do about it? Each one of us, my brothers and sisters, is reminded of that today. In our Holy Gospel, in our first reading, the second reading, Ezekiel, St. Paul, and Jesus echo each other. We are called to be prophetic, right? Prophetic, meaning that we are instruments of the Holy Spirit. We call our brothers and sisters on to holiness. But you've heard it from this pulpit before. When you call someone onto holiness, when you do what's called fraternal correction, it's got to come from a place of peace, right? It's a whole lot better when somebody has wronged us to give it some time to allow the emotions to calm down a bit. Otherwise, we'll say something we'll regret, or say something out of fear, out of anger, out of hatred, right? Even if they're people within our own family. It's got to come from a place of peace. And then we can talk to others, talk to our brothers and sisters. My uncle did a talk for Toastmasters International, which is a public speaking group, and he used the example. He was speaking about conflict resolution, and he said, think about this. Think about reason being on one side of its teeter-totter and emotions being on the other side of the teeter-totter. When your emotions are high, reason is low. But when you calm the emotions, now I'm thinking a little more clearly. Reason on one side, emotions on the other. It's a teeter-totter. We want the balance. That's where St. Thomas Aquinas says we should be. Virtue lies in the middle. But my brothers and sisters, what's beautiful about our relationship and what we're reminded of this Sunday is that we have access to God. We have an amazing gift, which is the adoption. We are adopted sons and daughters of God. That's what our opening prayer, the collect, says, is that we have been chosen for adoption. We have access to God, and He allows us to make our own choices. We have freedom, moral freedom, to choose the right and avoid evil. And Jesus God himself allows us to break his heart. Why? Because he loves us. He loves us. There's a story, of course, from Beauty and the Beast. Oh, now I've got your attention. Beauty and the Beast, right? At the end, the Beast is waiting for Belle to profess her love for him, right? And Cogsworth, great character, he's waiting, he's anticipating this moment because he knows what's going to happen. If Belle professes her love for the Beast, everything will be made right. But one last request Belle has from the Beast: let me look into the mirror and see my father. And what happens? She sees chaos. She sees turmoil. She gets fearful. And she says, let me go to my father. And the Beast lets her. But Cogsworth, still under the impression that she's with him, comes in and he says, did she say yes? Did she come? Did she profess her love? And the Beast says, no, I let her go. He said, but why? The Beast says, because I love her. Because I love her, I give her the freedom to choose. Out of love, God allows us to choose for him or against him. And my brothers and sisters, it's incredible. It's incredible that we have a God that loves us so much that he's willing to let us walk away. He doesn't want us to walk away, but sometimes we do, out of hardness of heart. But our responsorial psalm today says what? If today you hear the voice of God, harden not your hearts. We, like Belle, have that choice to respond to love or to be fearful of what it might cost and run away. You know, I don't know what this means in your life, in our personal journey with God. I don't know what that means. What does it mean to choose love? What does it mean in your life to choose Christ? Each one of us has our unique gifts, talents, but we also have unique crosses, difficulties. What does it mean to choose love? What does it mean to be at peace in your life? Jesus says today that we have the ability to bind and loose. Not the same as St. Peter, who has the keys to the kingdom, but we are able to bind and loose. What does that mean for us? That means that each one of us has the opportunity to hold on to things or let them go. Even here at the Fathers of Mercy. The scary thing is that one person can say something to me, one person can do something against my family, and I will never come to coffee and donuts again, ever. Why? Because I don't want to see them. I don't even want to be in their presence. They embarrassed me 10 years ago. I'm never coming again. Not that we're a parish where you have to come to us, but you get my point. Or I'm never going to talk to my mother-in-law again. Or I'm never going to talk to my brother-in-law. I'm never going to talk to this person, that person. You know what? I'm not even going to be in their presence. You know what? I'm not even going to go to the family reunion because I don't even want to break cake with them, let alone having to talk to them. We can bind or loose these things. And the devil loves that, right? The devil loves it when we hold on to things. Why? Because he's been holding on to a grudge for thousands of years. He hates us. Why? Because God became flesh. God didn't become an angel, he became flesh, a man, disgusting man. My brothers and sisters, each one of us has got to come to a point in our lives where we are uncomfortable in our lukewarmness. I've got to choose to change. When I look in the mirror, I've got to want to change. Michael Jackson had a song about that, right? Look in the man in the mirror. He's got to change his ways. Not saying Michael Jackson's a prophet, please don't get me wrong. My point being is that every day I wake up and I look in the mirror and I realize, you know what? I got to change. It starts with me. It starts with what I'm doing. Because if I'm not at peace, if I'm binding things, if I'm angry, if I'm resentful, if I hold on to things, I've got this big old log in my eye and I can't help you to get the speck out of yours. My brothers and sisters, what's amazing is that we see the world in turmoil. We see even hurricanes, storms, floods. Back where I come from in Northern California, they're having triple-digit weather. Triple-digit. There was a record in San Francisco of like 110 degrees. If you've ever been to San Francisco, that is disgusting to even think about. 110 degrees in San Francisco? It's unfathomable to me. There's flooding. There's places in Southern California that are on fire. There's monsoons. The world is in turmoil. The world is in chaos. We just going to talk about it? What are we going to do? Yeah, maybe you can't go to California, but what can I do? I can offer my Holy Communion for those affected by the storm. I can pray the Chaplet of Divine Mercy against the storms. I can pray through the intercession of St. Joseph, protect those who are watchmen within the church, the bishops, the priests, our Holy Father. Through the intercession of St. Joseph, I pray, may they always speak the truth in love. Because as St. Paul says today, love is what matters. Love is where correction has to come from, not from hatred, not from war, not from anger or resentment, or thinking I know better than you. Correction has to come from love. And who loves us the most? God. God. I want to read you two things that we posted on our Facebook page. You may have liked them, but you never read them. Convenience of Facebook. When there was a storm coming, St. Faustina 2 times records in her diary, and I'd like to read them for you. Today I was awakened by a great storm. The wind was raging, and it was raining in torrents, thunderbolts striking again and again. I began to pray that the storm would do no harm, when then I heard words, "Say the chaplet I have taught you, and the storm will cease." I began immediately to say the chaplet and hadn't even finished it when the storm suddenly ceased, and I heard the words, "Through this chaplet you will obtain everything, if what you ask for is compatible with my will." And then later in the diary, only like 60 paragraphs later, when a great storm was approaching, I began to say the chaplet. Suddenly I heard the voice of an angel say, "I cannot approach in this storm, because the light which comes from her mouth drives both back me and the storm." Such was the angel's complaint to God. I then recognized how much havoc he was to have made through this storm. But I also recognized that this prayer was pleasing to God and that this chaplet was most powerful. It's powerful, my brothers and sisters. Not to say it's going to avoid the storm. Not to say that God's going to dissipate Hurricane Irma. He can. He might. I pray he does. But we've made all the preparations. The people in Texas and Florida said, we will rebuild. We will fight this storm. We will battle back. We will build and build and build and build. We can overcome. Texas strong. Florida strong. Yeah. They prepared. Some not enough. the crisis of generators, of water, of food, and everything. But my brothers and sisters, spiritually, are we prepared? Spiritually prepared to fight the hurricane within our own heart, the hurricane within this world, within our family and friends? Am I spiritually prepared? How long has it been since I've been to confession? When's the last time that I did a holy hour? When was the last time I spent time with my family, chose to turn off the TV, put down the phones, and spend time? When's the last time that I chose to pray the family rosary, even if it's just me and my spouse? As uncomfortable as that seems, it's necessary. Necessary for us. But my brothers and sisters, usually, for me, I say, it's not worth it. Maybe tomorrow. You know, tomorrow's another day. Yeah, tomorrow's another day. It's not enough, my brothers and sisters. We see it's not enough. It's not enough for me. I need God's grace. I need God's help. And I need to be challenged to be a saint. As uncomfortable as that makes me feel, and as much of a sacrifice that that's going to take from me and from you, we need it. And I'll leave you with the words from Archbishop Chaplet in his weekly column this week. He made reference to one of the candidates for the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals, Professor Amy Barrett. She is a distinguished Catholic law professor at the University of Notre Dame, and she's the nominee to the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. In confirmation hearings, senators repeatedly raised thinly veiled questions about Barrett's suitability to serve linked to her Catholic faith. Because she's a Catholic, will she be able to serve on this Court of Appeals? But the signature line came from one senator who said, "The dogma lives loudly in you." The dogma lives loudly in you. How many of us could hear those words spoken to us? The dogma of the Catholic Church lives loudly in you. My brothers and sisters, we've got to turn up the volume. A little less talk, a lot more action.